counselor's jobs, in addition to fixing your transcript and making your schedule, is teacher morale. Teaching is a tough job, and when teachers are down, it's counselor's job to kind of cheer them up. So a project that I started during the quarantine is making protective face masks for our CV teachers. And so the teachers order their color and their size, and then I mail them out to them. So this is one that I'm going to make and show you how to do it. Hey, Fallon, what color is this? Good job. All right, so one of the things that you have to do is you have to put a little wire by the nose so that the coronavirus doesn't get in. So I've been using these thread ties. You get them with plastic bags and stuff, and I never knew what to do with them, but they're perfect for the bridge of the nose inside the mask. Pull on the little ear elastic to make sure that it's in tight. These pleats open up so that it can cover the chin, and that makes the teachers happy.
Buffet. So a couple announcements. First is we're going to start using Discord to communicate real time. And we've already started this with, there's super APs that are there already. AP has already been introduced to, and we just made a server dedicated to Buffet. And if you don't know what that means, don't worry. If you don't know what Discord means, don't worry. I didn't know either, but I really think it's a great thing. And so, whoa. And so we've made a, oh, by the way, this is the brainchild of Ethan B. in second period with strong support from Vikram and Todd, second period, and Lucas, fourth period. Anyway, this is what the window looks like for it. You can see over here, we've called the server Neato's Buff Club. And this is where Buffet is going to meet. And over here, you can see there's a heading called Unity Helpers. So these are people that are willing to help. And you can see Lucas is here, and that little green thing means he's online. So there's a whole bunch of stuff to learn, but this is I'm hoping that you'll have the courage to learn it, this app, so that you can get reconnected to people maybe in your class, or at a minimum to get questions answered. So, and there'll be more to come. Stay tuned. Second thing is, I want you to get a topic that you're going to use sort of as a base to figure out your games that you're going to make. I'm going to give you a lot of latitude in Unity, and as you learn these different pieces, hopefully you can see, oh, I can, turn that into my sport or whatever. So the thing I'm going to teach you today is how to make a background. And so inside the folder for this is called number 6 background inside the curriculum. I put an example application, which I taught you how to do last time. And if I double click on the Unity icon, it's going to do the output. Make sure you got this box checked. So this is a review from last time. And if I hit play, you'll see the lab that I made for what I'm going to ask you to do for this one. And most of you know that I like to surf. And so I'm obviously more into this stuff when I'm doing something that I like, and that's what I want you to do. So if you're an athlete, think about your sport. And some of you are doing this already, which is great. So keep it up, and eventually this will lead to some kind of game, and there'll be a lot of latitude. Like I said, in that game, I'll give you guidelines, but if the characters are something you care about, I think it will be more entertaining for you. One boo-boo that just happened is another announcement. I don't always sync up the episode posting and the Edmodo announcement. So there were a number of you that finished the lab associated with episode 10, and I hadn't gone into Edmodo and said, hey, assignment 10, attach here, and you just submitted it to Nowhereville, and that's fine, I got it, but that's my mistake. And so if you see that I didn't do that in the future, let me know, and I will fix it. Either if you're in Discord, text me, or on email. Either way, get a hold of me and let me know. Thanks. Okay, Buffet. So now I want to add another tool into your tool bag. And that's what a lot of everything I'm doing now, it just look at them as a collection of things, and you're going to put them all together so you'll eventually make a game. The thing that I want to show you now is how to get the background of your picture clear, because that's something that happens a lot. And we're going to do this with paint as an example. And this is going to be sort of like minute physics. I'm going to do fast. I'm going to do my Picasso picture here. And there's my face. And I'm trying to figure out whether I'm going to draw a happy face. Actually, our house this morning is a little bit down. We're sort of tired of each other. So imagine that. So we'll have a face that's like me, not a smiley, but yay. Okay, so here we go. So we'll do File, Save As, JPEG, and I'm going to call this Face. Save. Oops, I already had a face. Well, I just clobbered it. Do you want to replace it? Yes, I do. Okay, so now I need to go find face. There it is. And I'll check and see how it looks, my masterpiece. There it is. Oh my goodness. Fit for a museum. Okay, so now what we're going to do is go to LunaPic. It's an online thing. It's free. It's an editor. And there's a lot of ways to do this. So if you have a better one, you can tell me about it and use it. LunaPic. Free online editor. Boom. Okay, so we're going to say edit. We're going to go to edit. Come on, baby, let me go to edit. And at the bottom, it says of edit, it says transparent background. Okay, and then this window shows up. And then I'm going to, where it says choose file, that's going to let me browse. And so I think I'm on my desktop, and I'm going to go look for face. And there it is. There's face. And I'll say open. And then somewhere, oh, my masterpiece. Now, all you got to do is click the part that you want clear. So I'm going to click this part. Boom. And then wherever it's checkered is where it's going to be cleared. So I want to scroll down. And I want to stay in, yeah, okay. So there's my face, yay. And I got a clear background now. And I'm going to say save, boom. Okay, so that's going to give me this file over here. And it's a PNG, which should be fine. I put a JPEG in, got a PNG back, that's fine. And then I'm going to drag this onto my desktop. Okay, and I'm going to get rid of LunaPic for a second. Bye-bye, LunaPic. And I'm going to rename this. It's big and ugly, the name. So I'm just going to call it, when I name files and I'm in control, I try to make them short. So I'll just name it F because it's easy to spell. And now what I'm going to do is go into my first folder, which you guys should be familiar with now. And if I were in front of you, I'd say, and which folder should I go into now? And you would yell out, assets. No, it would be silent. But then you'd be thinking assets. And then there would finally be somebody courageous enough to say assets. So I'm going to drag my F into the assets folder. And hopefully that's familiar enough to you. And there it is. And I'm also going to drag my face into that sounds good. Drag face into my assets folder, because that's really what assets are. They're just a collection of a bunch of stuff, the pieces, if you will. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to double click on the icon that says Grav, because that's like the last one I used, I think. And what I've been trying to get you to appreciate is that each scene that you save, you can look at that almost like a folder. It'll save whatever you did up to at the last point. And so you can see in my assets folder now, I have this thing called F, and I have this other thing called face. And if I drag my F into my game, onto the stage, you can see my face there. And if I grab my face, put my face on here, you can see my face. There we go. And they are different. And I think I can zoom in. There. Okay, so let me see if I can pan this over. And you can see my two faces there. One that has the cleared part and one. So today, the main lesson, Buffet, is to learn about how to make a background. And it's not too hard, but it's really powerful. So I went and got a picture that's going to be my background. And it's a groovy sunset picture I took a couple days ago from my backyard. And what I'm going to do is, and this should be old hat now, is I'm going to go into my first folder and I'm going to open up my asset folder and I'm going to drag my sunset picture into my asset folder, which means I'll be able to see it when I open up one of my Unity icons. So I'm going to open up this gravity one again, and I'm going to save a new scene at the end of this little episode. So, because I'm starting to change things enough, and that's somewhat arbitrary. So I got somebody commented in the vlog. By the way, commenting on the vlog is fine. You only need to say hello, but if you have a question, yeah, that's a place to do it if you're courageous enough. And somebody said, I've put all of my labs into the same scene. Is that okay? And the answer is yes. That's perfectly fine. Okay, so the reason I wanted to talk about the background is it's a nice extension of the camera. So I'm going to click camera here, and you can see this is what would come out. And notice I clicked in my hierarchy of the camera. So the data over here is the camera. And if I were in the front of the class, I'd say, what's the Z value of the camera in position? And the answer is -10. And that is in a lesson from before. But what I want to do is see the rectangle. I want to see the field of view, if you will, of the camera. So I'm pushing my fingers together on the mouse pad. And you can see as I do that, I'm bringing in, and I'm not very good at this, and I don't exactly know when it works and when it doesn't. So hopefully you can get better at me than this, but and I just hit the pan button on the camera. So that's what this guy is over here. So there is the boundaries of what the camera sees. Okay, so I'm going to go back to leave the camera. Now I'm picking on Fred, but what I want to do now is create a background, and the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to drag my sunset picture onto the scene, and you can see there it is, and it's called SS because that's the name of the picture, but I'm going to rename it background. And I encourage you to name your game objects. Remember, these are called game objects once they get into the hierarchy. Name them what they are. And then also, since you've got some expertise now in how the camera works, I want this thing to be in the very back, which means I want this thing to be, let me go pick this guy. I want my person to be in front of the background, which means it needs to be closer to the camera. So I'm going to pick on Fred now, and I'm going to go over to its Z value, because right now the Z value of Fred and the Z value of my background are the same. And so if I were in front of you, I'd say, what would be a good value for Fred? And the answer is something. If you want to think about that, hit pause right now. That would be a really good exercise. Hit pause, try to come up with what you think the answer is, and then hit play again. So the answer is it should be a negative number less than 10, because you want it to be closer to the camera, which is at minus 10, than the background. So I'm just going to say minus 5, somewhat arbitrarily. And it doesn't look any different because Z value is looking into the page. But now when I drag myself over, it comes in front of the background. Okay, now the purpose of today's lesson is to stretch the background so that it fills up the field of view of the camera. And if you want to maintain the aspect ratio, you can like pull proportionately, because it can go past the edge of the camera. And I'm sort of like stretching my backyard a little bit, but that's okay. I'm all right with that. There, so now I'm sitting here. Actually, let's move Fred so that he's like down here, or in the pool. He's like jumping in the pool. There we go. So now if I hit the camera, you can see in the lower right hand corner what my movie is going to look like. And I think I gave Fred, if I click on Fred, remember this guy over here, the inspector tells me, and I have a rigid body on Fred. So I bet Fred is falling. So I'm gonna drag Fred up here so he's in the sky. And then I'm going to hit play. Hit play. Okay, so now it's thinking, and now we see Fred falling, but you can see the point of all this is my background now is that picture. And that's, if I publish this, that would be the entire background. That's how I made my son be the whole background on that surfing thing. That was my son, by the way. Proud father. Okay, so that's the point of this lesson. So now, I'm gonna go and save. Okay, so I'm gonna go to File, Save Scene As. Whoops. Save Scene As, didn't like that. Whoops, something's wrong. What is wrong? Cannot name playback engine directory, blah, 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 playback engine. So I got some kind of error thing going on down here. And I'm not sure what that means. Can't set non-existent playback engine directory. Unity editor modules, manager, idealize, boy, missing assembly. Sounds like I'm in trouble. I don't know what to do with this. Project, I'll click on project, console. So somebody's mad. They're pretty mad, and I'm not sure what all this means. So what? Oh, let me see if I can do it now. It could be that I just publicly, let me see if I can drag this down. Can I move my, yeah, let's see if this works. File, save scene as, oh, okay, so I'm gonna call this background. And that'll remind me that this scene was made when I saved the background. And the lesson, which I think I'm going to leave it in here, is it's a really good lesson. And I just did it publicly. But you can't save stuff or nothing's saved when you're in play mode. So make sure when you do something to an object, like give it a component or change a value or move something, if you try to save it, while you're in play mode, it doesn't save. And here it didn't let me save, but once I stopped the movie from playing, then it let me save. So that was a good thing to learn. So I'm going to give you a couple pointers, Buffet, on the lab. So if we go into the Unity curriculum folder, and incidentally, if you don't have PowerPoint, you should get a new textbook because I went in and this is an old one, but I put PDFs in each folder. I'm going to open this guy up, which is, I believe it's a one-pager. Yeah. And so this is basically using what you know. So I commented already, you should be at this point picking a theme. You should go get a JPEG that's going to be the background for your game or whatever the thing is you want to make. And then I tell you here, I specify, I'd like you to make the thing that moves out of at least 3 pieces. So that you can draw them, you can, part of them can be a photo, they could all be photos, but different photos. But if you run my game or my example lab in the same folder by double clicking on background icon, you'll see that I've got a surfboard and I have my face, and so you're going to use all of those to make up your game object, and you're going to treat them all the same, which will make them appear that they're all unified. And the next lesson, I'm going to teach you how to make them all unified, but I want you to get the pieces together first. Notice that on my example, I'm surfing horizontally. And we never, it's possible to do that with what you know. So it's a little bit of a trick. And we never talked about, I don't think, how you can make something go vertically. And if we were in class right now, I would say, what did you do? Because I bet you nickel somebody figured that out. And the answer was, if you choose a coefficient or a gravity number that's a minus number, when you get to choose that as in the component phase of the rigid body, then it will go up. And there's sort of a trick like that in order to make something go horizontal. I could give you a hint right now. Look at the camera. Ooh, a hint. But anyway, try to make something go horizontal. If you can't, make it go vertical. Hi, AP. So I'm going to give you a practice problem today during your section, and it's going to be a free response question. And I'm going to give you the question, and then I'm going to give you the answer. So I think the right way to do this is listen to the question, and I'm going to project it so you can look at it, hit pause so you can read it and stuff. And then hit pause again after you have the question understood what you're being asked, and do the problem. And then hit play, and I'm going to tell you what the answer is. And the example that you're going to have is like one of the 2 free response questions that you're going to have on the real AP test. So one of them is related to arrays and array lists, as I've said over and over. This is the other one. And I think it's not been real clear what that means. And so that's why I want to do an example like that. And I'm going to use most of the time between now and when showtime is to review for the quiz. Okay, so I might relax on the matrices a little bit, the 2-dimensional arrays. Okay, so I'm going to chit chat. Hopefully, yeah, you can. This is the question. Okay, so it'll be on the screen while I'm yapping. I'm going to do our little, notes or comments pep talk now. So I went to a webinar in the past week that's talking more about the AP test, and a couple of the highlights are on the 27th. So that's like a week from now, roughly. I'm going to receive a packet of information that's going to have slides, which I'll present to you, and we'll probably do it in Discord somewhere. There'll be a video that's how-to on how to take the test, and you're going to have to fill out a worksheet. And the worksheet's going to be, I think, related to cheating. Like they're going to ask you to type something, and then they'll be able to use that as a example of the way you do things, and then they'll be able to put that through Turnitin.com or something like it when you do your real quiz, and they'll be able to say, hey, this kid that's not theirs, or it is, or whatever. So, but we'll find more. That's just me trying to figure out what they're doing. They did say that it's going to be possible to earn a 5 on the test without finishing the test. And I think that's an important thing to digest, because, like if you finish the first question, the one on the array list, and you feel terrible because you didn't do part C, try to bounce back so you can do the other question, because it's possible that you will still earn a 5, even though you didn't do part C. And I'm just making that up, but it's like that you didn't finish. Let me move on here. Okay, so that's the first part of the question. And then here's the second part, or the second page. Sorry, there's 3 pages. On the day of, you're going to actually get an e-ticket when you take the test, and it's going to be like an airplane ticket. If you've flown before and you can get on the airplane with your phone, it'll be like that, like probably with a QR code or something, and then that'll admit you. It's actually a lot like flying on an airplane. So the e-ticket, as I understand it, will get you into a security check, and then you'll be like in a quote-unquote waiting room, and they're going to ask you questions probably related to the worksheet that you filled out previously. And then when you go through all the checks and they're happy, they're convinced you're who you really are, then you'll just sit there and wait until the quiz begins. Okay, I'm going to now go to page 3. What else did I learn? The biggest point that they're worried about, and I know some of you can relate to this because you do it to me, is they're worried that when the timer ends, and they're going to be the timer, that you don't stop, because they're going to allow 5 minutes for you to submit your quiz. And if you like say, oh, I can submit my quiz in 30 seconds, so I'm going to take 4.5 of those 5 minutes and keep working. That's what they're worried about people doing. Because if you don't submit it in time, it won't count. And then you'll be forced to take the makeup quiz, which will be sometime in June. And that one is going to be way harder. So, in my opinion, so do not go down that path. Okay, so that's the quiz and a little pep talk. So what I would do if I were you is hit pause on the video, because when the next segment that's going to be here is the answer to this question. And incidentally, it took me, how long does it take me to do this? Somewhere between 30 minutes and 45, okay, to finish this, just as an example. When I make up your quizzes, I take them. just to get an idea of how long roughly it's going to take. Okay, good luck. Go do the quiz. Okay, P, spoiler alert, here comes the answer to the free response question. So first we'll show you part A. Here's the answer to part A. And hopefully this was really easy. So I'm not even going to explain it, so you can hit pause to look at that. Okay, so I'm going to try to explain this solution. And I've got a Super Ghetto Elmo, which maybe I'll take a picture of. It's pretty entertaining. So this is the month of January in 2019. And you can see that the first day was on a Tuesday. That was January 1st. And each of the days of the week are mapped to be an integer. Like Sunday is 0, Monday is 1, Tuesday is 2, blah, blah, blah to 6. That's what the pink is up there. So if we call the method first day of the year and give it 2019, we're going to get a 2 because the first day of 2019 is on a Tuesday, so it's giving us that pink number. And that was a method that was given to us. Another method that was given to us was day of the year. So this is like you give it the month, day, year, and it'll tell you which day of the year it is. And for example, if we want to know what the 5th of January 2019 is, it's the 5th day of the year. And it's easy for the first month because the first month in January, the whatever the date is equal to the day of the year. It gets more interesting in the second month. And then the method that you have to write is telling us what day of the week that is. So if we put in 1-5-19, and by day of the week it means that integer 0 through 6. So if you look at the chart, you can see that on the 5th day of January, that is a 6. That's the day of the week, a 6 or a Saturday. So if we do another set of numbers, here's another set. When we say, again, 2019, what's the first day? That's the 2. But what if we do 1-12-19? And you might say, why did you pick that? And I did because it's my birthday. So again, the day of the year is equal to the day of the month if it's the first month, so that's easy. But the day of the week, it's 6 again. And if we can see that right here, because 12 comes on a Saturday, which is a 6. And you can see that if we entered the 19th of January, that would give us a 6 also. So these 3 values, for example, if you wanted to know day of the week, they would all give you a 6. Okay, so if we first look at this guy, how do we get the 6 when we ask for enter the day of the year of 1-5-19? And so here's how I thought about it. So we're going to start with the 2 because that's the Tuesday came on a 2, and we know that the answer is 6. So what do we add to 2 to get to 6? Well, if we add the result from the call to day of the year, that would be 5. And that would seem somewhat logical, but it's off by 1. It's like 2 plus 5 is 7, not 6. So an easy thing to do here would be to just subtract 1 and say, okay, that works. Okay, so if we go on to the next one, if we ask ourselves, what's the answer if we ask for day of the week of 1-12-19, we can see the answer is 6. So I set up the same equation again. We start with 2 because of Tuesday. We subtracted 1 from the first one, so I left that there, and we need to equal 6. But if we just blindly put the 12 in, like we put the 5 in, you can see that that would just give us 11, and that's no good. So what we need to do, though, is we need to get basically 7 less than this. We need to pretend that we're back here, and then this would work.
And then if we think ahead to 19, we need to get 7 times 2 less than this to get back to here. And so hopefully that will ring a bell in your head saying, oh, modulo. Yeah. And so what we're going to do is say, all right, we're going to take that number, 12, we'll modulo it by 7, subtract that from, take 1 away from that. And this, in fact, 12 modulo 7, yeah, remember this is divided by, so there's 5 left over, so this becomes a 5 minus 1 plus 2. Boom.
So here's a solution to part B. So we first calculate the day of the year, given the year, and this is the number 2 that we had in our example. And then we put in a month, day, year. And the example we did a few, but the first one was 1/5/19. And for the first month, the point I was trying to make before was the day, whatever that number is the same as this for the first month. And then if we modulo that number with 7, then this equation here will calculate the right day in terms of the numbers 0 through 6 mapped to the days of the week. Okay, a couple of wrap-up comments. First, I need to show off my Elmo. There it is. Yay, nice Elmo. So this question. The College Board loves modulo, and this one had modulo in it. I've had questions before on your quizzes where you do the trick where you modulo 10 and you can peel off digits from a number. They love that. So somewhere it's likely that the modulo operator is going to be necessary. So watch out for that. Also, if you noticed in this question, if you wanted to implement it, in other words, you wanted to get all the methods going and test your code, it's like, oh, you have a compiler, yay. I believe they're going to ask you something like this because it would take you a really long time to implement all of the methods and then actually test the 2 that you're responsible for. So I think this question demonstrates the qualities of what they're going to be. This will be the second question, the non-array list one, and it'll be something that'll be so big you can't implement it, but you'll be writing a method and calling methods. And yeah, good luck.
They got some mail. What could it be? Nice hairdo.
Thanks.
You like it? You try it on for me?
I could wear this during surgery.
All right.
Oh my god.
Does it work?
This is amazing.
All right. Cool. So I just spoke with Mrs. Carlson, and she had just finished her 78th mask. And since I like the idea of like the sports report thing, we're going to tell you in future vlog episodes how many more she's made. And on the screen you can see, speaking of numbers, you can see our latest count for the folding at home, over 1 million points. And thank you to the people that have joined in. I noticed Nikitas has 2 machines helping us out. That's really cool. So I wanted to say a few more words about Mrs. Carlson. She really, really understands people. When I look at her interact and try to help kids out, I think it's like she looks at each kid as a puzzle. and she gets inside their head. She figures out what makes them tick, and she wants to understand them better. And when you combine that ability with also wanting to help people out, which she does, it's a perfect storm. I mean, what a great set of traits, skills to be a counselor. And I think the masks are a really good example of that. She sensed a need, it's something she could do, and then she went to work. And I know with my own, she made them for my own family, the last few slides, pictures you saw. And I remember she said, she emailed me and said she knew that my son liked turtles. And she was all worried that she didn't have any more turtle material. And I said, you know, frogs, he likes frogs. And so the detail that she was going to in order to make a mask to help my kid so that he could be protected from the virus, and it had the right symbols on it, just like, yeah, too cool. So another thing I want to add to the vlogs is to have a vlog hero, which I've done already. I just haven't called it that. So obviously, Mrs. Carlson is that person for this episode, and I am so thankful that she is a counselor at CV, and I'm really happy to call her my friend.